Hey guys, this is video 1.2. We're going to talk about properties of matter. So we just in the last video talked about how to classify different types of matter. So now we're going to kind of take it a step further and talk about the properties that each type of matter have and kind of see what category they will fall into. Alright, so the first term, this is just a definition. Make sure you have these in the back of your mind throughout the whole year. They definitely pop up on that Regents exam, which, you know, as you're watching this in the first day or two of class, you're like, oh, Regents exam, who cares about that? That's so far off. Guys, it's going to be here quicker than you even think, okay? So just keep these in the back of your mind. These are two right here, extensive versus intensive properties that we're going to do more. I want to spend more of an effort kind of coming back to these two terms in lab throughout the year, so be aware of those. So physical properties, okay, these are the constants about the substance. Okay, basically the way you kind of distinguish those is that we can use our senses to observe them. Oops. Okay. They do not require chemical analysis. Okay. So classic examples would be melting point or boiling point, same thing. Okay, let me change that actually, I apologize, / boiling point. Color, texture. Okay, so those again are just classic ones that they're constants. A lot of times if you look in your reference table, so for elements, this is going to be a table that's going to be super handy. You've got some of these physical properties listed for you of each individual element. Now compounds, not so much listed there at all, but the elements you absolutely have them, so make sure you are aware of table S. Now we can break physical down even further, though, into what are called extensive and intensive properties. So if you think to yourself, X versus in, that's kind of your clues there. So I like to start with intensive, even though I have them going alphabetically here. Intensive properties, guys, these are the way I think about it, is it's inside the substance. No matter how much you have, it stays the same because it's within. Okay, so intensive does not depend on the amount. Okay, the amount of material that you're dealing with. So intensive properties will help identify matter if you have an unknown. Okay, intensive it's a constant. Okay, so again, best ones like we already said, melting point, boiling point. Okay, color is another one, so some that we've already listed here. So color, density, now that's a big one, okay, because we're going to do a lab here shortly where you're actually going to figure out the density of pennies and to help and try to identify what metal is within those. Okay, hardness is another one, and then solubility. That's going to come back later, probably toward like February. Solubility is something we're going to spend a lot of time discussing. Okay. So if intensive properties do not depend on the amount of material that you're dealing with, okay, and they are inside the substance, what do you think extensive properties are? Extensive, like outside, is kind of what I think. So this is a property that does depend on the amount. Okay, So things like energy, mass, volume, heat. Okay, so extensive, intensive, make sure you know those. Again, lab is where we're going to try to, reiterate these over and over again. So be on the lookout for those things as we do our lab discussions throughout the year. So those are the physical properties that can be broken down a little bit more thoroughly. Then we have chemical properties. And for me, I'm going to change up colors here just so you guys can see it a little bit more clearly. I'll go with purple. Chemical properties are things that think, okay, in my mind are things that I think of scientists doing or looking at. Okay, take a little bit more in depth or kind of intense testing. So these would include behaviors substances adhere to when they react. Okay, so the key idea you're thinking of here with chemical versus physical properties are, if there's a chemical reaction that's involved, then it's going to be a chemical property. So if it's reacting or burning or mixing or something like that with another substance that produces something new, that's going to be a chemical property. So an example of that would be like group 1 metals, which you're probably like, what in the world are those? Well, we'll talk about them later on in the year, but group 1 metals will react violently with water. We'll do an example or two. I'll show you guys a video when we get there talking about that to see that. Methane. You've probably heard of the term methane. Okay, reacts with oxygen. To form CO2 in water. Okay, some metals react with acids, some don't. Okay, so basically, guys, if you can kind of observe it, it's going to be more of like a physical property where chemical is dealing with some type of reaction. The thing you probably thought chemistry is all about, where you can see things blow up or not, okay, that's kind of your chemical property. So what I want you guys to do now is to practice. You can just put I for intensive, E for extensive, or C for chemical properties, and then you guys can check your work with me in class and ask any questions that you may have. All right, I'll see you next time.